For centuries, Sydney, Australia was considered the farthest corner of the world. But by 1942, the world was upside down. The Nazis had stormed most of Europe, and Japan was launching a juggernaut of its own, capturing a huge swath of territory from Hong Kong to Singapore. World War was now at Sydney's doorstep. Over 3.5 years, starting in May 1942, Australian and American forces imported nearly 1 million mustard gas and phosgene gas weapons from Britain and the US. The horrible weapons that had shocked the world in the First World War were still highly controversial. So the Australian and US armies hid them in 15 storage depots throughout the country, including an old railroad tunnel in Glenbrook, less than 40 miles from Sydney.
I'm meeting with two men, Arthur Lewis and Jeff Byrne, who were teenagers when they served in the Glenbrook tunnel, and they had to keep the secret for over 60 years, and they're telling me all about it. Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Don.
Did you have any idea what you were getting into when they sent you here?
No. Complete mystery.
Wow. Where's this tunnel from here?
Follow us, then.
Okay.
While serving in the Royal Australian Air Force, Jeff and Arthur spent 2 long years, from 1943 to 1945, working with a deadly arsenal here.
How much training did you get in handling toxic liquids?
Got a full week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes.
So did you tell anybody in your lives what was going on here, what you were working in?
No, not one single word.
At the time, using chemical weapons to launch an offensive was considered a war crime by the Geneva Protocol. But it was legal to store chemical weapons for defensive purposes. And since the Allies had reason to believe the Japanese weren't playing by the rules, they had to be prepared for the worst. Because the project was so controversial, it was kept under wraps for 60 years. But in 2007, a diligent author named Jeff Plunkett broke the story. He contacted Jeff and Arthur, 2 of the few surviving servicemen who worked here. The men finally broke their silence and exposed Australia's deadly secret.
So this tunnel was used in what way?
It was used as a storage area.
Okay.
About half its width was stored with chemical mustard gas.
This whole tunnel space is filled with lethal mustard gas. In drums?
Drums, and sometimes in bombs.
Okay, so all different kinds of canisters.
Yes, canisters. And that balance in the room was to allow a tractor to go up there,
Okay.
a crane to pick up the heavy drums.
Today, the cool, dark tunnels are used as a mushroom farm. But 65 years ago, the cool, dark conditions were perfect for storing one of the world's deadliest arsenals.
How many containers of gas were in here?
Tens of thousands.
So an hour outside of Sydney is enough toxic agent to take out the whole population.
Yes.
Incredible.
The low, constant temperature inside the tunnel kept the volatile liquid from exploding. But if the oil inside hit the air, it turned into a noxious, invisible vapor, which attacked the lungs and skin, resulting in agonizing blisters. When leaking drums needed to be repaired, they were taken on tracks outside the climate-controlled tunnels, where temperatures regularly topped a scorching 100 degrees, making the soldiers' heavy woolen protective gear torturous to wear. Jeff and Arthur were assigned to secret tests at nearby Northbrook Island, where the Air Force released 9,000 pounds of mustard gas, using live goats to test the effectiveness of the toxin. The goats went blind and were euthanized soon after, but the workers here were also at risk.
We had all this clothing on, the gas masks, and I came out of the jungle and I thought, oh Jesus, hot. The bloody clothing was unbearable.
Right.
And I thought, oh, I'm far enough out now, I'll take it off. I took it off and there's still contamination dripping there and then dropped on there.
And what happened to you?
Now I just sort of closed up and I went blind in that eye. And
How long were you blinded?
about a week, a bit more.
Oh, man.
In addition to testing for weapon potency, the Air Force also needed to know how to treat chemical weapons burns. Like U.S. soldiers used as guinea pigs in A-bomb tests, over 700 Australian soldiers were paid a few extra shillings a day to be gassed.
They used to remove parts of their clothing, whether it was an arm or a crutch, and then they'd put them in a gas chamber.
And they exposed them to the gas.
Big blisters hanging off their arms, hands, as big as tennis balls.
No kidding.
And then some of them were burnt all around their genitals, and they had blisters hanging off different parts of their body.
My God.
Even looking at it, it was a terrible feeling.
Yeah, right.
The weapons testing was horrible, as was the possibility of having to use them. But the Australians were facing a ruthless enemy. As late as 1938, Japanese troops unleashed chemical weapons in parts of China. The Allies collected soil samples proving that the Japanese had also launched chemical weapons in Papua New Guinea, only 100 miles from Australia's shores.
This was a secret that you guys didn't even talk about.
It was a secret we
Kept until just recently,
Okay.
all our life.
Did it affect your pensions and so forth? I mean,
Oh, we couldn't get a pension.
because they didn't even want to admit you were in the Army.
Not know we existed.
Did you ever complain to anybody and say, excuse me, but I don't want to work with a toxic agent every day of my life. I'm a young man.
No, because those were the days when you did it as you were told.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the word toxic, we didn't even know how to spell it. And it was a different era.
Sure.
Australia's Defense Department maintained total secrecy for over 60 years. Then, after decades of silence, the men decided to contact Defense Forces about the cache of weapons Jeff had buried during the war. Today, the Australian government is still digging up its toxic secrets. If not for Jeff Byrne and author Jeff Plunkett, this dark part of Australia's past would still be hidden underground.